Hello and welcome to this special news bulletin on International Children's Day of Broadcasting. I am Fanmata Fofana presenting. On the headlines today, child labor hinders productivity of children in school. School-going children express dismay over lack of comprehensive sexual health education in schools. And special need students call on government to uphold the right to equitable access to education. Stay tuned as we bring you details on this and other stories. Welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is a special news bulletin in observation of International Children's Day of Broadcasting. And I am Fanmata Fofana of Jabang Upper Basic School presenting. On our first story, International Children's Day of Broadcasting is commemorated on the first Sunday of March every year. On this day, children are allowed by broadcasting institutions to take up the airways to discuss issues of importance to them. In preparation for this day, the Media Academy of Journalism and Communication, MAJAC, brought together kids to train them to produce content for themselves. Our reporter Yamundo Sanyang covered the activity, and she files in this report.
The Media Academy for Journalism and Communication trains 21 children from different primary, junior and secondary schools across the Greater Banjul area. The training is geared towards the commemoration of the International Children's Day of Broadcasting in the Gambia. In an interview with the Minister of Information, Lamin Queen Jambe highlighted the significance of the day.
Very important because it will allow or create opportunity for children not only to be heard, but also to be seen. And because human existence, it is a desire in every human being to be recognized. And because it is a day during which the efforts of children can be seen, I think that alone is something great.
Banna Sabali, lecturer at Majak, outlines her expectations from the students ahead of the day.
Is at the end of the day, they will present news, bulletins on various TV stations, radio stations, and also they will so prepare a documentary that will be aired in various radio stations and TV stations. So the expectation is high, people will say it is high, and then I am sure that we have the best kids here, though we could get more if there was support from outsiders. The expectation is we do better, and I'm sure the kids will definitely come up with something great.
That was Banna Sabali sharing her thoughts. The Communication and Youth Coordinator at Child Protection Alliance echoes CPA's preparedness ahead of the day and their plans to partner with Majak.
It has every importance on children, okay? It would be more important for me and you to talk about your rights than when two adults sit and face each other to talk about the rights of children, because we might not know exactly what your problems are or what your feelings are, but if you're given the opportunity to express your feelings, then there's nothing that could be more important than that. Child Protection Alliance would be more than willing to partner with the Media Academy for Journalism and Communication to train children on broadcasting, but not only on broadcasting, to train children on issues of child rights and how to use the media to promote the rights of children. Because as I said, when you are well trained and you take up advocating your rights, then it's better than we adults always sitting to say child rights, child rights, child rights. You should play a bigger part, and Majak is preparing you to play your part.
The International Children's Day of Broadcasting is designed to encourage broadcasters worldwide to create awareness of children's issues. It's a day broadcasters allow children to be part of the programming progress, talk about their hopes and dreams, and exchange ideas with peers on issues affecting them. The ICDB was launched by UNICEF in 1991. The theme for this year's celebration is More Money for Primary Education. Reporting for the news, I am Yamundo Sanya.
Sexual health education is a component of comprehensive school health education. Programs and should be medically accurate and based on content research. This gives young people the knowledge and skill they need for a lifetime of good sexual health. Umi Balde has been finding out the level of sexual health education in the Gambia.
Comprehensive sexual health education is dropping in schools across the Gambia. This is limiting the opportunity of children in getting basic knowledge on how to prepare themselves on their menstrual cycle. Phoebe and Aina Gransanya, reproductive health specialist working with the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, explained some of the problems hindering sexual health education in the Gambia.
Things that you have to appreciate, you shouldn't be shy of. But most of the time, young people, they are shy about their body, they are complex about their body. Young girls as well, breast development, pubic hair, acne, that are pimples, and also then the latter part is menstruation. That's why you need to acquire knowledge about who you really are, how your body changes. And when it comes to the young girls, they need to have knowledge about their menstrual cycle. Because most of these young girls don't know about their menstrual cycle. They don't know about ovulation. They don't know when their period is coming. They don't know what to prepare and how to prepare once they start seeing their period because their parents did not advise them.
Ramatulai Bijala, a student of Masru Senior Secondary School, also shared her experience after engaging in the training.
For them, they were confident, and then at first I was confused because what I believed before and what I was educated about was totally different. So I find it that yes, I lacked a lot before. But then,
is it different?
after the sensitization, I was aware about a lot of things which I wasn't aware of.
Jilan Job, a mother, highlights some points to consider key important things to do when you're on your menstrual cycle.
Growing up, nobody had ever talked to me about it. You feel like it is a taboo, or you feel shy to talk about it. Imagine a girl when you first see your period, sometimes you feel shy to tell your mom that you have seen it. So for me, as a science teacher, I deem it necessary to talk about when it comes to sexuality with my sisters. Okay?
Mahmoud Dabo, a teacher from Masru Senior Secondary School, encourages for more trainings to happen on comprehensive sexuality health education.
Vulnerable people are the school-going age because they are at the risky position. So they need to be educated about some of these comprehensive sexuality so that they can have a better ideas on how to protect, conserve, and disseminate such information to the larger mediums.
Comprehensive sexual health education started in 43 schools in Region 1 3 years ago, with both public and private, upper and senior secondary schools. Students who receive comprehensive sexual health education make safer, more informed, less destructive choices.
That was Umi Balde reporting. Now, educational equity means each child receive what they need to develop to their full academic and social potential. This, as ICDB reports, is facing setback in the Gambia. Differently able children are calling on government to make a distribution of education in the country more equitable.
Education is said to be a human right, but for some children at school-going age, access to quality, equitable and inclusive education comes under difficult circumstances. Here at the St. John's School for the Deaf, students deal with inadequate classrooms, furniture and teachers to get their right fulfilled. These special needs students brave the difficulties in learning under such conditions. The head girl of the school, Aissatou Cisse, speaking through a sign language interpreter, explained the routine ordeal they face as students.
Also, it's difficult for them to be coming to school because they don't have school buses. Now, they want the government to help them with school buses so that it can help them. They are going and coming to school. Just for them to join the public transport will be difficult because for them to ask them to stop, to stay at the stopping point is difficult, especially the young ones.
Authorities in this school are not letting the constraints hold them back in providing an enabling environment for the students. Mr. Babukar Gay, Vice Principal 2 of the school, says that despite resource constraints, the school authorities are maximizing effort to support the children.
We are trying our best, helping them to acquire basic skills. We do have here different categories of school. We have 3 in 1. We have the lower basic, the upper basic, and senior secondary. And then we give them different skills like metalwork, woodwork, and carpentry. We also have arts and crafts. We also have electrical installation. We also have tailoring because they can do things best with their hands. The academic side, they also perform, but it's very minimal what they can do in the academic.
At Govi, the school for the blind, Muse hands down tuition to this set of students. Students here raise concern over the lack of braille machines and stationery to support their education. This adds to transportation hurdle they face every school day. School authorities say the school needs support. Momodu Baji, the deputy headmaster, explained the challenges the school faces.
I said those textbooks are not accessible to our children here. Not only the children and even the teachers, because teachers are also visually impaired, like the children. They cannot read these textbooks, and they have to prepare the lesson notes and skills before they teach their lessons. So the difficulty that these teachers are encountering is reading the content of the textbooks. They have to move from one person to another. Please read for me, let me know what is here before the person will prepare his or her lesson note and scheme.
The Gambia's education policy 2016 to 2030 envisions providing accessible, equitable, and inclusive quality basic and secondary education. But until this policy pronouncement is attained, students and authorities of these schools have their problems to deal with. Reporting for the news, I am Aissatou Jade.
If you are just joining us, this is a special news bulletin by Children in Observation of International Children's Day of Broadcasting. I am Fanmata Fofana presenting. Moving on, child labor is keeping millions of children out of school. Even for those children in child labor who get to attend school must struggle to balance the demands of education and their work. Our reporter Fatou Cisse files in a report on the prevalence of child labor and its impact on Gambian children.
It is an undeniable fact that children are exposed to different forms of abuse, and most of these abuses are often committed by people close to these children. One of the abuses common in the Gambia is child labor. According to the Global Journal of Human Social Science, worldwide records suggested that the estimate of children involved in child labor ranges from 300 to 400 million, which is approximately 4 to 5% of 2.8 billion economically active persons, and this includes the Gambia. Anchage, a teacher and a victim of child labor, highlights the challenges she faced when she was a child.
Child labor affected me and then I was in school, staying with my stepmom at Farfani, whereby they would assign me to wake up by early hours to go and sell water at the Babatenda Internal. I was supposed to go to school, and before I go to school I have to sell that. And they would tax me to bring an amount of money, whereby if I don't able to afford that, it will be another thing to do.
Fatou Kinenjai Kantra, a psychologist lecturing at the University of the Gambia, outlines the psychological effects of child labor.
Child labor is doing a child taking responsibility of adult work. like doing what adults are supposed to be doing, you know. So if then what happens is the child will lose some of his or her childhood, you know, and that can later on affect them in their life, because they can think that this is normal, and then this practice can continue, because when they have children, they can have the tendency to do the same thing again. So it will be a repetition.
Campaigns are on to advocate against child labor, and this is championed by the Child Protection Alliance, CPA. The communication officer, Ibrahima Dabo, explained the role CPA is playing to combat child labor in the country.
Our role in all of this goes around advocacy, training, research, and lobbying. And we raise more awareness on the dangers of child labor so that people would try to refrain from engaging their children into such forms of labor.
Meanwhile, children are the pillars and futures of every society. Worldwide, children undertake different activities to subsidize household income so as to ensure family survival and sometimes their own upkeeps, which has devastating effect on children's academic performance. I am Fatou Isise reporting.
In the Gambia, a lot of students who sat to West African Senior Secondary Certificate Examination in 2022 failed English language. This means most would not get admission at the university as the subject remains a key requirement for enrollment. Our reporter Mariama Jallo sought the opinion of stakeholders on how to improve the performance of students in English at WAS level.
In the Gambia, recent statistics have shown an increase in the number of students that fail English language in the West African Senior School Certificate Examination, WAS. The low performance in the core subject worries a lot of students in senior secondary school across the country who are yet to take the examination. One of those students is Umi Balde, who is in grade 11 at Masu Senior Secondary School. She advises her colleagues to work hard at school to avoid failing English language in the West African Senior School Certificate exam.
There are so many students failing these WAS exams when it comes to English language, and I might be a victim of it. I might also fail exam, but I am really worried that if I fail, it's gonna be a waste of time for me, because sitting again for private WAS exams to do English language again as the only subject that I fail, it's going to be a waste of time. Okay, the advice I have is just that we focus in classes and have other classes. If we have private classes, we just attend it and just focus, read novels and focus more on English language, because these are things that we always speak. And when it comes to exam, we're just asked to, what we speak, we're just asked to put that on paper.
Omar Jendu, a former English language teacher, says the inability of students to read and understand instructions written in English language during the examination leads to the failure of many in the subject.
Our problem is, most of the time, is that children cannot read, or students find it difficult to read. And this is why sometimes they even fail their exams, because they cannot read and understand instructions. So if we are able to go back a little into what we used to do in the schools, then I think we can be able to improve teaching and learning of English.
The former English language teacher says the availability of learning resources, well-trained teachers, and students' willingness to learn would produce more passings in English language at WAS.
There are certain things that we need in the schools. We need resource materials. We need the textbooks, all right? We need the teachers who are well-trained, all right? The training that used to happen in the college, I think that needs to be intensified and improved. Once you have quality teachers, once you have the right materials in the schools, we can go ahead. But also self-motivation on the part of the students. Let the students be ready to learn.
Musaba, principal of Mbulum Senior Secondary School in the Lower Nyome district, explains what his school is doing to improve the performance of its students in English language at WAS.
At this level of my school, I am trying to encourage the students to read. We give them novels, we give them newspapers, we give them stories to read, so that they will, from that they will build an interest in reading. Once the reading culture is established, then the performance will improve.
Reporting for the news, I am Maria Majan.
Now, our final report is on the affordability of education in the Gambia because the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education says there is a policy on free education to promote all children going to school. But there are still school dropouts, raising an alert on its policy. Fanmata Danso interacted with the permanent secretary of MOPSI and a parent she now reports.
Smiles and jubilant moods were some of the scenes after the government announced the free education for all policy in 2014. For some, it was the end of school dropouts, while others thought it was a time to not worry about fees from schools. These thoughts are partially realized since the announcement and continuation of the policy from 2014 to date. Free education for all, as per the definition of Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, has it that all kinds of school levies should be abolished, so students can freely access education without restrictions. Despite the announcement of the free education policy of the government, in 2017, students were sent back home for not paying one thing or other. While the handout produced by the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has abolished all school levies, parents still see education as not free as the policy claims it is. Yaya Gassama, a parent who has 5 children going to school, says education is not free as he still has to spend for education.
Well, for me, I don't think it is free completely. What I believe in is that it's free tuition education. But education is just more, the cost of education is not only limited to tuition. There are a lot of other, payments or fees that are attached to education. In fact, when you look at it, tuition is just a small part of the entire education, expenditure. Because there are uniforms, you have to buy badges, textbooks, lunch, and in some cases, students have to pay transport fares to go to school. All these are counted as a cost of education.
That was Yaya Gassama, a parent of 5 children. The literacy rate in the Gambia stands at 63.9% for males and 47.6% for females, and free education will only increase the literacy percentage, and thus there is need to press the button on free education. Most often, students who see their fellows not going to school are sometimes left with 1 or 2 things in their mouths, and these students echo their sentiment towards that.
I used to pity them because seeing my fellow friends sitting at home, I wish like being the richest person in this whole world and paying for their school fees so that they could go to school.
I see them, I feel sad about them because I know some people, their parents don't have money to help them. If they can have sponsor to someone who can help them, they can help them because they can be the future leaders of the president or something else.
Usually, I'm not happy to see my colleagues outside. I want them to come to the school and learn together.
These comments from these students are just a tip of the iceberg of a lot more students talk less of those sitting at home. Ibrahim Sisaho is the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education.
So, it's difficult to have an absolute free situation in this. In reality, it's difficult to have something very absolute. Government make effort to minimize any kind of cost associated with education. But in reality, there will still be some hidden cost. And it's government's effort to abolish all kind of hidden cost. For example, yes, it is, we declare free education, but still students will be required to pay to take care of their fares to school. And then the parents are still providing lunch and uniform to students. So there's still some cost element. But then what we are saying here is that the basic levies that are imposed at schools are all abolished.
The IHS 2015 household survey revealed that there are still significant disparities between children from urban and rural areas and across wealth quintiles, especially at senior secondary level. Lower basic school enrollment rates differs between the different regions in the country, with children in the Region 5 having the lowest enrollment rates and those in the Region 1 the highest. Reporting for the news, I am Fanmata Dansu.
That report by Fanmata Danso brings us the end of this special news bulletin. But before we take a leave of I would like to remind you the main headlines. Child labor hindered children's productivity in school. School-going children express dismay over insufficient comprehensive sexual health education in schools. And special needs students call on government to uphold the right to equitable access to education. That's all we had time for. I have been your presenter, Fanmata Fofana, and on behalf of the team, I wish you a joyous International Children's Day of Broadcasting.